the end of fear. If you haven't already subscribed, click the button on the bottom right, turn notifications on, and then you'll be informed when I upload new content. So I'm going to talk about one of the primary and unfortunately common driving factors in people's lives, and it comes in one word, which can mean many things, but that word is fear. And in the past, I've been no stranger to that emotion. But the emotion doesn't arise on its own. It needs a trigger. It needs to be fed by something to exist. So if fear is the fire, then the oxygen that gives it its force, its life, is how we think about the future, our relationship to the future. And it's so easy to go into that future world with what ifs and start to catastrophize what might happen next week, next month, next year, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. And it's not unusual to do this. We've spoken before about the fact that, unfortunately for most people, the present moment is overlooked, and they are in a continual frame of reference that is in the illusionary future or the illusionary past. And not in a good way. They live, and I have lived in the past, in a fearful and an anxious state, a state of being alert and trying to figure out how I can make the future safe. But what that does is it projects you into an illusion that doesn't exist and hasn't happened. And you then live there in your mind. You create that world, and it is fearful and it is frightening, and there are dangers and there are potential pitfalls, and there are things that you can be concerned about. There are an infinite number of things that you can worry about, and so you live in that future of fear, worry, concern, and you are then stressed and anxious in the present moment, and all that happens in your mind. In the present moment, often there is no immediate threat or danger. You are either just sitting on a chair or lying in bed, or perhaps daydreaming about future catastrophes as you're doing the shopping or the dishes or going about your daily routine. And of course the end result of that is that you don't have any present moment awareness. In fact, the present moment is killed by the fear of the future. An end to fear begins with recognizing that for most present moments there is no danger, and in fact, if you open up and experience the flow of what is happening in real time, there don't seem to be any problems. There is just the pure awareness of being alive. Now, that's not to say that we don't need to plan for the future in a pragmatic way, because if we don't do that, then it can descend into chaos very quickly. So I'm not suggesting that we ignore the future. What I'm suggesting is our relationship with the future changes subtly, but that subtle change can make a massive difference in one's lived reality. And that subtle change is to let it be. Don't go there and create a situation that hasn't happened, because in the present moment everything is exactly as it should be. You find the ability to perceive from present moment awareness, where everything is exactly as it should be. You find that space, and you do not live in the insanity of a future that hasn't unfolded. And it's worse still, because you live in the insanity of a future that you create that often is the worst possible unfolding of what could happen. And so you bring that catastrophe into the present moment and you live it. And then what happens often is that is reflected back in what unfolds. So you're almost creating the catastrophe by focusing on it, by living in a constricted and fearful way. And so again, I'm not suggesting that we ignore the future. We have to look after our future selves and those that depend upon us. We have to give it due care and attention, but from what position? From a position of fear and control and anxiousness and worry and concern, or from a place of peace, stillness, serenity, and an acceptance of what is. In other words, a connection with the present moment. A connection with the present moment that you don't actually have to find, you just have to drop the continual illusion of living in a future that doesn't exist, and come back to present moment awareness, and give your psyche, your mind, your heart, your soul, your biological embodied beingness a break, a respite. Just let it breathe in present moment awareness, and give it a break from the snares of those delusionary futures that hook you and that produce anxiety and stress, and that go down the fearful route, the way of living in the world. Can go down two paths. You can live through fear or through love. And you have that choice. But first you have to recognize the old patterns, because to see through the filters of your conditioned mind, you have to see that you have been ignorant to the fact that you are creating a future of fear and anxiety, stress and concern that doesn't actually exist. You are creating it in your own mind. And so you see that, and then you have choice. You have a choice as to how to live. And I suggest that choice isn't always obvious, and so the messages that I'm putting out here in these uploads and through my writing is that you do have a choice. First of all, you have to recognize the veil of illusion that covers you, that covers your eyes, that sucks you into the control and the drama and the fear of what may or may not unfold, and then see that there is another way of experiencing what is happening, and that is opening your eyes to the present moment and dropping deep within